Hi, everybody, and welcome to Mix It Up. I'm Caleb Graham,
I'm Katie Alexis.
and it has been 3 weeks, almost, probably almost a little more than that since our first show, I guess, our first show. um, it's been an interesting 3 weeks, especially for me. But before we get into that, follow us on Twitter. You can find me at Caleb Graham.
And Kit Kat Lexi.
And then also you can follow us, the whole show, on Twitter at Mix It Up TV. And we actually like for, if you feel so inclined, to tweet us during the show with any comments or questions or opinions or feedback on anything that we talk about. And then throughout the show we will look at that and read some of those tweets, which is a lot of fun. We want all of our viewers to be involved. So tweet us, let us know something, and make sure that you hashtag Mix It Up so that we can find it easier. Hashtag. Which, by the way, I don't know why this makes me think of this. So what is this?
I think I've had that when people come in and they want to take pictures. I think it means fierce. I think it's a Beyonce thing. I could be wrong though.
I haven't seen.
Yeah.
I never could figure out. I see people do it all the time when they ask me to do it. And I'm like, what? What is that?
Yeah, what does this mean?
Anyway, it's been an interesting 3 weeks. What have you been up to? My story is pretty long, so.
Just working a lot, dealing with work.
Yeah.
And failed relationships. Yeah, That's about it.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
It's kind of been that thing these days, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I've had an interesting 3 weeks. First of all, part of why it's been so long since we did a show was my mom came to visit, and she was here for 2 weeks with my nephew Chasen. So I was busy with them, and while they were here, we got into a car accident, and I totaled my car. Some of the lovely tourists that visit this area sometimes don't really know how to drive, or they get too busy looking at everything while they drive, and that's probably one of them now. Okay. And they just like to slam on brakes and have people hit them, which was what happened. And now I don't have a car. It's been almost 3 weeks. That happened on the 22nd of May, so it's been a little while. I still don't have a car. I've struggled with my insurance company for the past 3 weeks trying to get something worked out, and it's still not settled. So if you've been there, definitely send us your thoughts about that and your thoughts on auto insurance companies. I'd love to hear that. And if you have any advice, too. I'm trying to get this process finished so that I can get a different car. But anyway, so that's been... Oh, and I had a kidney stone, too. On top of that, because my back got kind of messed up from the accident, and I was out of work for almost 2 weeks, and then when I got cleared to go back to work, I got a kidney stone. So if you've ever had one of those, that's another hot topic in my life these days. Not fun at all. But anyway, we're gonna move right on into our hot topics here. The first thing that we want, which one do you want to do first? You want to do that one first or this one first?
I guess.
This one. The first one that we want to talk about, there's been a lot of shootings and such going on, and the first one that we wanted to talk about was the Santa Barbara ones. This was Elliot Rodger. He was the 22-year-old man accused of killing 6 people and then killing himself. Pretty bizarre, honestly. When we were looking at stuff today, I was reading that the police statement that was written out, that was released on Friday, was very similar to the 137-page document that he wrote, Elliot Rodger wrote, describing how he was going to do all this stuff. I mean, he wrote a lot.
He had a YouTube channel as well,
Yeah,
where he would post like ratings of how frustrated he was because women weren't sleeping with him basically and weren't giving him the time of day. So
it's interesting to me that, you know, I was reading that his family knew that something was going on and was worried about him, and that police had even checked him out at one point and deemed that he was okay. But I'm like, I don't know how you can post. I mean, people obviously were doing it right now, posting videos to YouTube and with all kinds of rants and stuff all the time. But how you can watch somebody say these things, and I mean, because you have a quote, don't you, of one of the things that...
Yeah, he said, "On the day before the day of retribution, I will start the first phase of my vengeance, silently killing as many people as I can around Isla Vista by luring them into my apartment through some form of trickery.
Yeah. So he was saying all these kinds of things. I think that actually was from his thing that he wrote, but there was all sorts of things that there's a longer quote that I won't go all the way into, but it talks about all the what she was saying about the women, and he was mad at women for not wanting to be with him. He was mad at men for being with women and him not being with women, and all these people that have rejected him his whole life and things like that, and that's what led him to all this. But I just don't. I mean, the war on women thing. I don't.
Yeah.
He was just mad because women didn't want him.
Yeah, basically, I don't know. You see it a lot. Like I was reading an article called by this guy. It's called, where'd it go? Nope, it's gone. Basically about how growing up in the nerd culture, how it's basically okay for nerds to, or guys who are seen as the underdog to chase after women because they're gonna get the girl in the end, and that's really frustrating. Yeah, the article's called "Your Princess is in Another Castle: Misogyny, Entitlement, and Nerds." And I don't know, it's really frustrating because I totally can identify with being one of those women that get harassed by guys and who, when they'll say things like, "Oh, I'm wearing you down," and you're like, "That's no, like you're not gonna get what you want. I don't want to sleep with you or any of that.
Yeah.
So could you just stop?"
Yeah,
you know?
I don't understand. I've never done that to anybody. I mean, I was raised better than that. I was raised in Alabama. I'm a Southern boy, so I was raised how to treat people with respect in general, whether it be men or women, no matter the relationship. It's just a respect thing. I mean, what do you think? I mean, what is he thinking he's gonna get? Like, if he kills all these women, then all of a sudden they're gonna want to be with him now? Like,
no.
it's just, I don't know. Yeah, I don't get it. There was something else that I was gonna say. He had 3 guns legally purchased, and he was talking about them all on this YouTube show that he would, or I guess videos. I guess you wouldn't really call it a show. That he was posting. There was another one that I was going to quote from that I was going to read. It said, in response, talking about the men, "You forced me to," well, here we go. This was the one I wanted to read. "You forced me to suffer all of my life. Now I'll make you all suffer. All you girls who rejected me, looked down upon me, treated me like scum while you gave yourselves to other men, and all of you men for living a better life than me, all of you sexually active men. I hate you. I hate all of you. I can't wait to give you exactly what you deserve: annihilation." And he described the drive-by slayings as the work of a madman. That was the sheriff, Bob Brown, said that. But I don't know. It's very bizarre. These people that get into these states of mind like that.
They're entitled.
Yeah.
It's like it's almost like in our culture, like women don't have a choice. Like, oh, I picked her, I want to have sex with her, so she has to have sex with me. Like, no, like we still have a choice. Like we can still say no. Like I was reading in the article I mentioned earlier, one of the major plot points of Revenge of the Nerds is Lewis putting on a Darth Vader mask, pretending to be his jock nemesis Stan, and then having sex with Stan's girlfriend. That's ridiculous. Like that's not. And then like a lot of nerds were very, it's like the classic nerd fantasy, immensely attractive to the young male audience who saw it, and a stock trope, the bed trick, that many of the nerds watching probably knew dates back to the legend of King Arthur. But he put, it's also, rape. Like it is.
Right.
Like, she didn't agree to have sex with you, she agreed to have sex with her boyfriend, and you're pretending to be...
He's like almost like playing out a fantasy.
Yeah, like that's wrong. It's sick.
Which interestingly leads into our next thing we were going to talk about, which is very similar to this story about the girl from Wisconsin who was stabbed by her friends 19 times. This goes into that same kind of thing where these 2 girls who are now being tried as adults in court. Their names are Morgan Geyser and Anissa Wire. They are in 6th grade.
Yeah, they're 12. They're children.
I just don't get it. I mean, I know that the world is different now than, when I was growing up, when you were growing up. We didn't have the internet right at our fingertips like we do now. And all the time, like, that was just starting. Like, these girls found this character who, funny enough, was created by somebody in Florida, the wonderful state we live in.
We're so creative in this
We're
state.
so creative.
Right.
I wonder what he's thinking now. Which they've tried to contact him. He wouldn't get back to any press about it. But
it's not his fault.
It's not his fault. That's true. I mean, he was from what I read, I think he was commissioned to create this character for some kind of website.
It was the website hosted a contest to see who could come up with like the scariest type of creature.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Well, he sounds pretty scary from what I read. He doesn't have a face. He's like tall and skinny. The pictures that I saw on TV were really disturbing looking of him. But he basically like lures children in and tortures them or kills them. And these two girls were, and this was from a quote in the police statement, "We have to kill to prove ourselves worthy to the Slender." And then they also said they didn't feel remorse. I don't understand. I just don't understand. I mean, you have these two 12-year-old girls. How do they find something like this is my first question. The second question is why I look at the parents. How do they not know that their children are reading things like this? If I had kids, I mean, again, my parents were not as watchful over me when I was growing up, when the internet was becoming a big thing, because there wasn't that much on the internet to be worried about. Now you have everything that you can possibly think of. I mean, you have killers putting videos on YouTube talking about how they're going to kill people. You have this crazy character guy, Slender-Man. Like, if it was me, I mean, granted, I'm only 26, I don't have kids, but when I do have kids, they will not be allowed to do things like this. Yeah. They will not look at things like this on the internet. They will be monitored. That's what should have been happening in this situation. Parents should have been monitoring what their children were looking at. Like, that's another thing that I don't understand. I mean, yeah, I know that children, because I did the same thing when I was a kid. Sometimes you do keep things from your parents, and you find ways to do so. But months, they planned this for months, right?
Yeah. And part of me wonders, like, did their parents ever stumble upon something that were like, that's disturbing, didn't really say anything? Because, oh, they're kids, you know what I mean? Because I know, like, growing up, I read things like Harry Potter and Narnia, and I, like, genuinely believed that that was real, like, that was a real place, but it doesn't mean I'm going to go and, like, run into a wall at King Cross Station, which people have done.
Well, and you're not going to try to, like, kill people with a magic wand either.
Yeah.
I mean,
you know,
because you can't. You know, that's, even though you believe it's real, you know that it's not.
Yeah.
Even at a young age. Like, you know that.
Part
of you understands that, but you can't do that.
Yeah. And I wonder how this conversation even got started with these two girls. Like, who decided, oh, hey, let's kill our friends. Like, why?
Let's be like this.
Yeah.
The other thing that was interesting about it was, you haven't really heard anything from their parents either.
Yeah.
From what I've read, their parents haven't really said much. They've been talking. The media has been focused more on the girl who was stabbed, which they have not released her name because of her age. She's also 12. But she came home from the hospital this weekend, so she's doing very well. We were talking about how everybody that is speaking for her family, like their spokespeople or whatever, are saying that she's doing well. She's watching TV, she's going shopping, like making her out seem very, very happy. And your question was
how? Well, my problem whenever there's stuff like this, and we'll talk about this later, like with kids that have cancer and all that stuff, like, oh, they're fighters, they're so happy. Like, don't lie. Like, I feel like that's something that's being said just to make other people feel better. Like, when you're 12 years old, because I was a 12-year-old girl, like, I know how hard it is to make friends and to trust your friends, and if this happened to me, like, I wouldn't be like, oh, let's watch TV. Like, I would be like, nobody talk to me. Like, how can I trust you? Like, I don't think I'd ever be able to really make friends again. Like, that's a really hard thing to bounce back from. Like, yeah, of course she can move on and live her life, but I think deep down inside there's always going to be like a fear and like an anger inside of her because this was not fair. This was not cool.
I think maybe a lot of it too, probably, I mean, you could have all the support in the world and still feel things, but I think that because she was able to fight through the medical part of it, like being stabbed that many times, which they say is still alleged, but Come on.
I hate that word.
Having gone through that and making it and surviving it, obviously she is a fighter.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So I'm hoping that, you know, once she is better, if she ever comes out and talks about it, or her parents do, or whatever, that we'll actually finally get to see for real if that's exactly what's happening. I mean, because you never, when you're going based on something that somebody else says, it's like their PR, they're gonna say whatever they need to say to make it better for people. Because I mean, ultimately, people care about these kind of situations. Like, they want her to be okay, they want her to be happy and things. So I just hope she really is. Honestly,
no,
I mean,
yeah,
I could see that. I mean, obviously, when something like that happens, you could have trauma. I personally have I've never been stabbed or anything like that, but like, I've never had PTSD issues. Like from my wreck, like, I've been able to get right back in a car. Like, some people, I've had friends, especially recently, who were in accidents, and it was a very unexpected thing, and they had trouble for a while getting back into a car, and every time you would slam on brakes, like, panic mode would set in. So, but I hope that she's okay. There is an online campaign that I wanted to mention. It's called Hearts for Healing, that her family set up to raise money for their situation, and they've already collected almost $400 or $40,000. That's pretty good, because it only has been a week or so since this happened. But these girls have been planning it since October. Like, I want to hear something from these girls' parents.
Yeah.
Like, when are they going to come out and say how they didn't know this was happening, or what was going on? I mean, because you always hear, oh, we just had no idea, we had no idea, we had no idea. Why did you have no idea?
Yeah.
My parents were always nosy as hell with me, so I don't understand why I don't know. Anyway, we're going to move on to something happier. This is for shout out to our one viewer who's watching. That's great. Whoever you are. Let's see if we have gotten any tweets. I was going to go and look. One of the things that we said before in our first episode was we wanted people to tweet us your opinions on these two things, what you think about it. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add before we move on?
No.
Okay. Because we want our viewers to be involved. You know, we're hoping one day that we can have some of you guys on the show and talk to us, join in the conversation. We don't have any tweets yet.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I can take this time. I have a shout out that I have to do. Recently, I received my 400th follower on Twitter. Woo! If I had as many Instagram followers, or as many Twitter followers as I had Instagram followers, I would be a lot happier. But
right.
This is at Megan Luann. This is your shout out. Girl, thanks for being my 400th follower. Everybody go follow her. And also follow us at Mix It Up TV. And we will move on. First of all, let me ask you. We'll segue into this. You like to read, right?
Yes, of course.
Do you have a favorite book?
No.
Not really?
Not really, yeah, no.
I don't have a major favorite book either. I used to always say that my favorite book was The Wizard of Oz, but that's more of just my favorite story in general. It's not really my favorite book. Anything Oz is what I love. But I asked that because I just read a book. There's a lot of movies or books being turned into films. It seems like it's more and more all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And this summer there's several coming out. And last night we went to see The Fault in Our Stars. And I had just finished the book. And so I was really excited to see it. I literally had to drag this one. Yeah. She at first was not too sure about it, and she didn't really want to see it, which was why was that? Katie Alexis?
Just because, I don't know. My grandmother had cancer growing up, and it's really hard reading things that are light about cancer and that are depressing, because I struggle from depression, so I try to listen to things like Kesha and things that are uplifting, so I don't feel or reminded. But it's just me trying to mask my pain. It's not really, it's not really helping. But yeah, it was a really good movie. I liked it.
We both went to see it. I had just finished the book, and we went. And from what you saw, and I'll ask this question since you said that before I forget. Based on what you saw, I have a couple of opinions about this. But did you think that that it was portrayed fairly true to what actually happens?
Because there will be days where my grandmother was totally fine. You didn't even like you weren't really reminded that she had cancer. And then there were days, like I'll never forget, there was one day we were watching TV and she very quietly like excused herself, and it was just me and her by ourselves. My mom was at work, and she didn't come back, and I was really concerned, so I got up and she was throwing up. And I went in, and that was like the first time it hit me, like as an 8-year-old, like, oh, like she is sick. You know what I mean? And she tried her best. She was like, no, like go away, go watch TV, I'm fine. And I was like, no, like I'm not gonna leave you, like, you know. And it's just, especially towards like the end, it was really hard because she tried, as the matriarch of our family, to be really strong, and when no one was around, like she would cry, and it just, I don't know, it broke my heart. And the movie was really true, like the frustration and the anger, and but definitely because in the movie and in the book she's so young, like I'm sure it's even harder. Like I've never been around kids who are sick, which I think would even be even more tough, because at least my grandmother got to live a life. She got to see her grandchildren grow up, whereas with this girl, like she's probably not going to get to have children, and she's probably not going to get to, you know, live her life, and that's really difficult.
Yeah. Well, I have never personally had anybody that close to me go through a cancer battle that I was around. My grandmother suffered from lung cancer also, similar to Hazel, but I was not around for most of it, so I didn't get the opportunity to really see much of it. My mom would always tell me things, you know. And even then, I think because they didn't want me to worry about her, they didn't really ever tell me much until up until the week that she passed away. But I've never been as close to it as what I saw and read in the book and saw in the movie. One of my best friends, his mother passed away of cancer a year or so ago, so he went through it, but I've never been through it as close to me as what I saw, and it's not easy, you know. I would have never. I learned a lot from reading and watching about the struggle, and it was a really good kind of wake up call to what people go through. But getting to the story and the book, we're going to have a spoiler alert. We're going to give you spoiler alert because we're going to talk about what happens in both the book and the movie. So if you haven't seen it or read it yet, you might want to not watch this part. Just step away for a little while, or pause if you're watching after it's been uploaded, and move forward a couple of minutes. But first of all, it did really well, box office wise. It beat out Maleficent, and it beat out the Tom Cruise movie that opened also this weekend, which I thought was just great. But first off, since I did read the book, well, from your perspective, not reading the book, you liked it overall, yeah? Yeah,
I liked it. I thought the acting was really great. The scenery was great. The script was really good. It was a good movie, yeah. I mean, I could have done without the high schoolers and the middle schoolers behind us squealing and crying every 5 minutes. But,
yeah, we had to deal with that, which I kind of expected. But for me, I really liked that it actually did stay very close to the book. I read that John Green, who wrote it, was on set most of the time and was there. He had a lot of input in it. The dialogue and everything is almost exactly the same. There were some details that were obviously different, you have to do that for a movie, but the one thing that I liked the most was in the book there's this really, really nice, I don't know, I want to use the word nice, I don't really know what adjective to use. Moving, we'll use that one.
Okay.
It's a very moving scene when Augustus has passed away and Hazel is at his funeral, where she goes, she takes her oxygen tube out and walks up to his casket, and she puts the pack of cigarettes inside with him, and he wears the suit that he wore to the restaurant, and she has a conversation, like she talks to him, and that was when I actually cried the most. And when I read the book was from that. And at first I was kind of sad that wasn't there, it wasn't in the movie, but then afterwards, when we left and I was in the bathroom, I was thinking about everything and like, what am I going to say about this on the show tomorrow? And I actually liked that they didn't put that scene in there, because if you've seen the movie, you know that the last time that you see Augustus is at when Hazel is giving his eulogy in the church.
Yeah.
And so you see him alive. So I was glad that the last shot we had of him was when he was alive. the guy did a great job with that character. She did a great job with Hazel. There were some things that were left out that I kind of wished had been there, like his parents.
Yeah.
Didn't have that huge a role.
They seemed absent.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, hey, honey, bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His parents had a much bigger role in the book. We also, I don't know if you noticed this, but did you notice how at the end when Isaac and Hazel were talking that they were sitting where the swing set had been, the swing set wasn't there?
Yeah.
Augustus and Hazel actually sell the swing set.
Oh.
On the night that he comes over, when she's laying out there and looking at it, he comes over and they post it on, like, I guess they don't use this phrase, but it's like Craigslist, one of those give it away sites.
Why?
Because it's reminding her of things. It was just making her sad, the swing set being there. And so they posted it and somebody came and got it for their kids.
Yeah, I was wondering where it went.
Mm-hmm.
Did they bury it with him? I was like,
No. But yeah, we really enjoyed it overall. It was a great movie. The acting, I had reservations with the casting at first because I didn't think that Augustus looked like how I pictured him to look.
Mm-hmm. Because he's supposed to be really hot.
She describes him that way. She describes him as very handsome. He has blue eyes, which the actor did not. But as I watched the film, he portrayed him exactly the way that I envisioned him. And she portrayed Hazel. I'm not sure if she portrayed Hazel exactly the way I would have seen her. It could have. I think a lot of it was just her voice, the raspiness in her voice, which, I mean, I guess would be a side effect of the lungs. But I guess I had not thought about that, so I don't know. I just didn't envision her speaking the way that she did. But the thing that was funny was, did you notice that her mom had a raspy voice too?
I loved her mom.
Her mom was great.
Yeah, because usually in movies, like, the mom is always like, but she was a mom. Like, my mom would say, and, like, the way Hazel would look at her mom, like, seriously, mom, really? Yeah, it was great. Yeah. Like, that's totally, like, that was
absolutely all in the book.
They had a great relationship. I liked her mom a lot.
Me too. I was glad that relationship did stay the same as it was in the book. There was one thing, too, that was the same. I was glad that her eulogy was the end like that, the way that, because that was in the book also. I was very nervous though, and you know a lot more about that novel that she reads when you read the book. And Imperial Affliction, which is not a real book, obviously.
Oh, it's not?
No.
I thought it was.
No, Peter Van Houten is a fictional character.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, obviously, but I thought the book would be like.
Yeah, no, the book is not.
Interesting.
But there's a little bit of parallel. Really? Yeah. That's funny. No, you should read this one. She doesn't want to read it. I'm like, you need to read it. I don't want to. But there's a lot of similarities between The Fault in Our Stars and An Imperial Affliction because of the cancer and the girl. That's, I think, part of why Hazel, why she identifies with it so well, is because she relates to Anna, who is the main character of Imperial Affliction. But when I was reading it, I was afraid, because in the book, like, there's a page where she's reading an excerpt from the book, and it stops mid-sentence, and that's how the book ends. And I was so scared that that's how
they were going to end the movie.
This book was going to end, and the movie. The whole time I was reading, I was like, it better not end halfway through. I don't know where it is. It's somewhere. I have to find it. But the closer I got to the end, I kept thinking that Hazel was going to die and the book was going to end mid-sentence. I was going to get so angry. But instead, it ended with the eulogy that Augustus wrote for her, which I thought was great. Because it was kind of telling you.
So she dies too.
Well, I mean, I guess technically we don't know that for sure. She was terminal, and they weren't able to get rid of any of her cancer, so it kind of was just a matter of time. Because her lungs, as we know, had failed, and she was being breathed into the oxygen. So she doesn't technically die. I mean,
could be a second movie.
I assume that she does eventually. Well, he hasn't written a sequel, so. But
it's gonna be like Peter Van Houten.
It's gonna be the same.
Like,
yeah, it's like, why do we not know? But I have a feeling John Green is not as crazy as Peter.
Go to his house. I wanted to punch him. Like, I was so angry. I was just like, are you kidding me right now?
Mhm.
This guy.
He just goes on
Yeah.
and on and on.
Yeah.
And but I did like that he comes to the funeral.
Yeah.
Even, and
Her face.
I know, right?
Why are you here?
That part happens a hair different. That was one thing I wish that they had done that was in the book. In the book, he's already in her car when she gets in it.
Okay.
And he like pops up in the back seat.
Oh my god.
And I was like, oh, I remember reading it and I laughed because that's totally something that he would do, you know, because he's insane. But
Yes, yeah.
anyway, we really enjoyed it. Definitely go see it. If you have read the book, you definitely should see the film because it is very true to the novel, with a few minor differences.
Don't be obnoxious though.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Could
that's
you
what we were going
not?
to talk about. You know, this was a great segue into life moments because this can be a life moment. We were sitting in a theater full of teeny boppers, for the most part. I mean, there were some adults in there, but the girl that was sitting on the other side of Carly looked like she was about 8.
Yeah.
But there's a scene, obviously, where love for the first time, and they don't really show anything in the movie,
Yeah.
but Hazel pulls his shirt off, and
The girls were like,
the
oh
girls
my god.
flipped out, and then the whole time they're like laughing and giggling. I'm like, we can't even enjoy this moment because of these people. And I'm thinking, and I was telling her earlier, I had a flashback to 8th grade when I was in Coach Rogers' literature English class. We read Romeo and Juliet, and we watched the film version from the 60s.
Oh, I love that version.
And
with the guy that kind of looks like Zac Efron?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh
yes.
my gosh. Yeah.
There's a scene there where they like pan his naked backside, and then he stands up, and it's like all you see is his butt, and then Juliet gets up, and you see her boobs. And I remember thinking how immature everybody in my class was because at that point, you know what those things are.
Yeah.
So there's no reason to go, that when, it's just stupid. I don't get it. Like, have some maturity, people. You're in a movie with, 500, well, not that many, but like at least 100 or more other people and who paid money to watch this movie.
Yeah.
But
control yourselves.
Control yourselves, please.
Yeah. They were obnoxious. Like, there were a couple times when I wanted to turn around and be like, shut up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, get out. I wanted to stand up and be like, everyone under the age of 18, get out right now.
Uh-huh.
Like, I can't. Like, you're obnoxious.
We threatened among ourselves, but we never actually did it. They weren't too bad. It was just that one time, that one scene. But isn't that frustrating, though, when you go to a movie and that happens, regardless of what it is, or when people are talking or on your phone? I love the little video that they play before, where it's like, put your phone away.
Don't even look at it.
Don't even look at it. Let's talk about your what you did yesterday.
Oh, I went to a convention. It was awesome. If you don't know what a convention is, it's basically a bunch of really nerdy people get together and they dress up like, anime characters or movie characters. And then people like sell like drawings and things that they've made, which was really fun. It was a lot of fun.
And it was NitroCon?
NitroCon, yeah. Okay. It was over at UCF. My friend Ray invited me, which I'm really glad she did. It was like $10 to get in, and parking was free. So then nice. I spent $70 on art, but I like art a lot. I think it's more to me than just like a drawing. Like, it's something that I'm gonna cherish for a really long time, especially because it's all things based on things that I love, like Pokemon and a lot of the stuff. Only I'm gonna have it because they drew it for me, and people were like, "Oh my God, where'd you get that?" And I'm like, they drew it for me. Thanks, it's mine. Like, it was $5, and you can't have it.
Yeah.
So especially like this one Pikachu that I got, everyone was like, "Where did you get that?" And I'm like, "Not."
Oh, don't ever show me that, because I will try to steal it from you. I love Pikachu.
But yeah, it was interesting though because I've never been to a con before, and I've heard about things that have happened, and nothing like crazy happened, but especially with like a lot of things like that's been going on against women lately, like it makes you more aware. And I noticed people looking, because I was wearing like a cute little kawaii type dress, and it was a little deep V, and it was a little bit shorter because that's what kawaii girls, that's how they dress. And I just noticed a lot of guys were staring and looking, and it's like, I'm not cosplaying, could you not? Like, I'm just trying to buy art and have fun. And it's like, yeah, definitely that nerd culture of just like, oh, let's stare at the pretty girl. Like, no, let's not. Could we not? Like, I mean, it's just funny. And my friend, like, people like stopped to ask, because she was cosplaying,
Mm-hmm.
and this is normal. Like, just people stopped to ask if you could take pictures with them,
Mm-hmm.
and that was fine. But like, the stares were a little bit, like the
What,
lingering.
were you dressed up?
No, I was just wearing kawaii, but my friend was dressed
that's
up,
right,
like some girl from Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, gotcha.
So yeah, I don't know. Some of it's like their stares were lingering a little bit too long, and it's like, go away, thank you. Like, you got your picture, bye.
It's funny though. I've always noticed that, like, even in when you see, I guess, the nerds around, it's like they don't know. It's almost like they don't know what girls look like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes. No, I do, because
you see them and they're just like.
Yeah, like my friend invited me to play Dungeons and Dragons with his friends, and I was like, are the guys gonna be there? Are they gonna be like weird and they're gonna like look at me like they've never seen a girl before, or are they gonna be normal? And he was like, and I'm like, I'm not coming. Like, if you have to like hesitate about that, like, no. And it's funny because I've dated nerdy guys before, and they always seem like they don't know what to do.
Right.
Like, and it's like they either are way too into you, or school is way more important, and they treat you like, and it's kind of like, okay, what do you want? Like, do you want that relationship, or are you just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
Frustration.
Yeah. Well, that sort of leads you into what I was going to say. I have a nice little quote that I would like to read, which actually has to do with that, because it's almost like, have you ever had friends who you've had an issue with, or
yes,
say things one way, like, or do things and you don't really know like what their intentions are, or anything like that, or if they turn into a bad person, and then they almost, and just, I don't know how to make the description. If they just have problems and that you identify, but you haven't really told them because you got so angry that you just cut them off.
Yeah.
Well, or you just know how some person is based on their actions, and they're kind of, you almost think they're oblivious to it, but then they call themselves out on it without meaning to. That's where I'm going with this, because someone, I wouldn't call them a friend anymore, but I still follow this person on Instagram, and I haven't spoken to this person in over a year, but I found out in recent days that they have become a pretty bad person. And they posted this quote, and I'm going to read it word for word because it's kind of disturbing.
It's very disturbing.
I read it to you, and
yeah, I don't like it.
We'll just go with it. So it says, "Do not fall in love with people like me. I will take you to museums and parks and monuments and kiss you in every beautiful place, so that you can never go back to them without tasting me like blood in your mouth. I will destroy you in the most beautiful way possible. And when I leave, you will finally understand why storms are named after people."
Yeah.
Stay away from this person.
Yeah. If you see this
By
quote on
all
Instagram,
possible means, stay away from this person, because that is exactly how that person is.
Yeah. No, and my ex was like that. Like, we started dating, and he convinced me to like go out with him, and I did, and I had a hard time trusting him, and then when I finally started to trust him and our relationship was like great and solid, he was like, "Oh, just joking," and it's like, what? Like,
well,
what are you doing?
It happens with friends. Like, it happens with friends too. Like the same thing. You can become friends with somebody and trust them, and fall in love with them in the friendship way, and then they all of a sudden turn their back on you, or do something to you, or I don't know.
They find somebody else, or
yeah,
they're just like,
they find somebody else they like better, and they don't have a way to get rid of you, I guess.
Yeah, they just kind of like ignore you.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Just don't do that.
Don't
be a nice person.
Yeah.
Please be a nice person. Oh goodness. Well, I'm going to read. We got a couple of comments about Fault in Our Stars.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I posted a photo on my Facebook. If you go to my Facebook, you can like me, facebook.com/KalebGrahamOfficial. Our wonderful friend Rachel, shout out to you, girl. She's my Glee confidant, I guess.
Gotcha.
She talks to me about Glee on our Mix It Up Talks Glee show, which is not happening right now because the show's on hiatus. But anyway, she read the book 8 times. Good for you. It's a really easy book to read, too, by the way. Well, before I finish reading, if you decide to read it, it's a very easy book to read. I read it in 2 days. And if I had had a full day, I could have read the whole thing in one day because it's a very easy read. Their language is beautiful. Like, John Green's a very good author. I've never read any of his books before, but I definitely will now because it was pretty good. Anyway, I've read that book 8 times. It is my absolute favorite. The movie was everything I hoped for. Rachel said that. And Evan said it made him cry. Followed the book so well. I agree.
Yeah.
Definitely teared up. You even.
I did. I think the part that I cried in the most was when she gets the phone call in the middle of the night and her parents walk in
And she just knows.
That was awful. And then the one thing that really annoyed me about the girls giggling during the love scene was because that was so pure. Like, that was like the purest, and there's going to be so many of us that go through our lives that never have that. And the fact that they were looking at it childishly, like in an unpure way, kind of annoyed me. Because it's like, no, like, I wish I had that. Like, I wish I had someone that would, like, make love instead of just, like, be gross.
I agree.
Yeah.
It was very rude. That's what I hate about doing when that happens, is you can't ever enjoy something because people have to, make fun of it, or.
And it's not socially acceptable to smack minors. So. Well, I wish it was.
We haven't had any tweets. That's okay. One day. Well, I guess that's going to do it for this show.
Yay.
Wrapping up, happy birthday to that crazy #1 Donald Duck. He is 80 years old today. We wanted to say that because, we're here in Florida, surrounded by Disney. So had to say happy birthday, Donald Duck. And we also just have to say Justin Bieber got baptized, guys. Come on. And we're not going to talk about it because I don't really care to, but I just thought that was very interesting. He got baptized over the weekend.
Good for him.
Hillsong Church in New York.
Let's hope he's not lying.
I'm sure, like they said on The View this morning, that his mother was very ecstatic about that. But anyway, let's give you guys some contact info before we head out of here. Like we did at the beginning of the show, follow us on Twitter. I am at Caleb Graham.
And I'm at KitKatLexi.
Yes, that's KitKatlexi, right?
Yep.
And my name, just like you said. And then at Mix It Up TV is our Twitter page. So you can follow us on there and send us some comments, some information, some questions, some feedback, whatever you want. Continue to bear with us as we try to make this a show that we're proud of and that flows well, even though we have our issues. Just bear with us through it because we are learning. And also, you can watch it here on YouTube, youtube.com/mixituptube. That's the address to get you to the site. We do the shows live. I shouldn't say that. We do. We do the shows live, and then they automatically upload to the YouTube page. So if you missed it live, you can watch it again and leave comments and rate and everything, and let us hear from you. We will see you soon. Bye. And